One of the things that I wanted to do with you this morning is have a little bit of a chat about how you can protect your family. So we're going to give you a little workshop. The Fed rate hike, how this hike will impact your family. That is our subject of this little conversation. So what is that going to mean for you? What are you going to see from it? And if you're watching us on RonSiegelRadio.tv, any of our socials, or the ABC News and Talk AM 1490 video feed, you can actually see a little bit of a slideshow that we've got here. So I can walk you through what this Fed rate hike means to you, how it can be beneficial for your family in 2023. Next slide, please. So let's take a look at this. The Fed rate hike does not directly impact mortgage rates. Over time, it will, and sometimes mortgage rates actually go the opposite direction. The Fed funds or Fed hike will affect credit cards if they're an adjustable card. They will affect home equity lines of credit. So let's take a look at the next slide. What do I mean by that? So here's the issue. If you want to look at this, so we lost something there. Home equity lines, and I don't know what happened to our numbers on there, Josh, but the number on the equity line that we have here, the data is not showing up. But what I want you to understand about this is the numbers here, if they showed up, would be showing you what prime rate is doing over time. And we went from like 3.5% prime to right now we're at like 7.25% prime. Now, your home equity line of credit, maybe you're at 7.25%, but for the most part, you're going to be higher than that. You're going to be prime plus something, and that's why your rate changes all the time. Let's take a look at what that means for you. Let's take a look at the next slide if we can. So, if you can, Josh, can you slide in on this a little bit, or whatever they call it, enlarge it, because my old eyes can't see. So what we did here is we looked and we said, okay, we've got $60,000 line of credit. If you took this out and we're just using a base rate here, we're just using the prime rate. If it was at 3.5%, where prime was at the beginning of the year, maybe it was even a little lower, well, you're looking at a $175 a month payment. Well, that same home equity line of credit now with a 7% prime rate is $350. For some families, that's very painful. I don't know anybody that likes it. But let's take a look and see where we go from here. Next slide. We're going to take a look at it, and we're going to see. We went one too far. Maybe we went too far. I'm losing it. Plan for 2023. There we go. Okay. So let's say what are we going to do for 2023? We have a couple of different options. Plan A, we do absolutely nothing. We wait it out. Okay, that's a plan. Doing nothing is something. Now, what do we look at for Plan B? Plan B is to recession-proof your family. We've been talking about this for a while, even before the Federal Reserve did this, but how do you recession-proof your family? So Plan A, you've got no credit card debt, you've got no equity line, you've got reserves in the bank, you've got a recession-proof job. Under Plan B, you've got credit card debt, you've got a line of credit that you're using. No reserves in the bank. Shame on you. And you might even have a risk of losing jobs because the Federal Reserve has told us they know that's going to be a consequence of what they're doing. So there's your options. There's where you might be. Next slide. And you take a look at it. Plan A, again, we're doing nothing. Plan B, again, you've got credit card debt. You've used your equity line. You got no reserves in the bank. High job loss in the recession. What are we going to do about it? We've got two steps here. Under Plan B, when you have a lot of credit card debt and you've got your line of credit maxed out, generally that means you're going to have low FICO scores. The credit card debt affects your FICO. The credit line affects your FICO. Talk to our friends at creditsanitizer.com. Get that free credit report audit. Job loss means you cannot refi. If you don't have a job, no refinancing. Cash out does require some equity. You're going to have to leave behind 20% equity. A lot of families have that equity right now, so we don't have to worry about that. Next slide, please. So step one, refinance right now. And you say, well, Ron, the interest rate is so high, and you're in a 3.25%, 3.5%, 4% interest rate. I know I got that for you, or somebody got you that. It does not matter, because what matters is your household blended interest rate. Put all of your debts together and weighted, and see what your interest rate is then. But in step one, we're going to get rid of all that credit card debt and the equity line of credit. It's considered a cash out refi above the interest rates that are high right now. It's going to even be higher because that's the highest rate that we have on a home loan is a cash out refinance. But we don't care about that because we've got a plan going. The rate in term will be lower. Now, we're going to pay off all that credit card debt. We're going to pay off the home equity line of credit. That means your FICO score is going to increase. You're going to have a higher FICO score because we're funding the emergency account. We're getting you out of debt. We're using some of your equity to make your life better. Now, you're going to have to leave 20% behind in that cash out refinances. And guess what? Property values have not dropped yet. Now, are they going to drop? I don't know. But if they do and you got the money out, you don't have to worry about it. And you can do that refi right now because you haven't lost your job yet, and I hope you don't. Now, what is step two? Well, next year in recessions, historically, I can't predict the future, but historically, interest rates always have dropped in a recession. They always go down in a recession, not reception, but in a recession. So if that happens again, as it has in the past, what are we going to do? We're going to do a rate and term refi because now you've got all those debts paid off. It's going to be easier to do that. Your credit scores are going to be higher. That's going to get you lower rates. Rate and term gets you the lower rates. You're not going to need as much equity in that refi because you're doing the rate and term and you don't have to worry about those other issues because you've already protected your family. It's a two-step process. And if you like country music, some of you already understand two steps. Me personally, I like country music, but I don't understand two steps. Next slide. That's the bottom line of what we're doing for you. Now, if you want us to put together a customized total cost analysis, we do this all the time. All we need to know is what your debts are, your mortgage is, and we'll take a look and we'll put together, as you can see on the screen, something called a total cost analysis. And we work the whole thing out for you numerically so you can see exactly how it will benefit your family. Can I guarantee it's going to benefit you? No. But for most part, it will benefit you. Next slide. All you got to do is make the call. So the question becomes, are you going to take action? Are you going to sit there on your hands and hope that lightning doesn't strike? Or are you going to really make a call? All you have to do is give us a call. Next slide. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. We're more than happy to help you with it. All you got to do is get off your hands, take a little bit of action. But if you don't want to, hey, you can see what happened in 2009, 10, 11 to people. We don't want you to be one of those people.